Hi, it's Kay. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to make for you a red mesh rose wreath. I read many of your comments and you said when I made the pink rose that you could not see some of the things I was doing and there were some steps you didn't understand. So I'm going to do it again and try to make it as clear as possible. This will be a step-by-step tutorial, so in the description box I will put the time where I do different sections so that once you kind of know how to do a certain part, you can speed ahead to the next section if you like. And for those who are new to this and you want to just follow along with me, you can just walk through the entire video, okay? All right, let's get started. Hi, it's Kay. Welcome to my channel where we do DIY projects, home decor, and home organization. So in order to get the camera close enough for you to see, I am not really visible. I was told that when the camera was facing me, some people felt like they were falling over into the project. So I'm going to leave the camera here beside me and you'll see my hands working, but I'm going to get this really close to make sure you can see what I'm doing. All right, today we're going to try this wreath with the camera from this angle. And the next wreath I do, we'll try a different angle and then we'll vote and you can let me know which one you like the most. So the materials you will need to make this wreath, I'm going to be using the Unique in the Creek wreath board. And for every item I will list in the description box where you can get them. So we're going to need this board. We're going to need some zip ties. And I've estimated about 54 at least. So you want to have some extra, so if you make a mistake, you can cut it off and, have some more to use. Then you will need some mesh. I'm going to be using today the 21-inch mesh. This is 21 by 30 feet. Picked this up at Michael's today. They were having it on sale, half price for $5. I was really excited about that. You will need a little more than one roll. Sad to say, it's like just a few inches more, but I wouldn't scrimp or try to stretch it, because when you try to stretch this stuff and get try to make it do more than it's supposed to do, you end up with some odd shaped petals. So you can use the 21-inch by 30 feet, or you can use, this isn't the right color, but the 12-inch by 35 feet. Usually when I made the pink wreath, I used the 12-inch, but I doubled it so to have a real rich color. So again, it's up to you if you want to double it or just do a single piece of mesh for each petal. And this is also, so this is 35 feet. So this one roll would definitely be enough. If you want each petal to have a single piece of mesh, if you want each petal to have it doubled, then you will need 2 rolls of this. I have a roll of green mesh that I use to make a little bit of green leaves around the outside of my wreath. This again is optional because you need to buy a roll, but you'll have it for other projects. So again, this is the 12-inch by 35 feet, and you only really need a couple feet of it. So that's why I have some left from the pink rose I did, or from the previous flower I did. Okay, you will also need scissors or something to cut your mesh with. I'll be using this cutting wheel because I have the cutting board. I like working with a cutting board because it gives you the measurements and things already. If you don't have a cutting board, you may want to grab a yardstick and just lay it out here, across the top of your table, so that you'll have measurements just like I have here. And then as you're rolling your mesh out and cutting it, you'll already have a guide to use, so you know where to cut it. And then I have some clothes clips or clothespins. And I'm going to use these because I'm going to make all my petals first and hold them with these clothespins. And then I'm going to start putting them on the board. Okay? You will also need either a rubber band, a small piece of wire, maybe about 6 inches, or piece of pipe cleaner, a tinsel stick, and I'm going to be using this. So any little item you have around that we can kind of use to hold the center of our rose together, you can do that. So I'm going to just use this because I don't have any rubber bands. That's something I'm going to have to add to my craft supplies. Okay, I'm going to put this to the side and get started cutting our mesh. The first thing I'm going to do is cut the mesh that we'll be using to form our petals. We're going to be using, I believe, I tried to estimate, we're going to need 37 9-inch petals and 8 10-inch petals. So first I'm going to cut my 10-inch pieces. I will need 8 of those. So turn it this way because my number 1 starts here. So from 0 on over, I'm using this water bottle to hold it in place. I'm going to try to always keep my edge straight here so I don't end up with zigzag cuts. And I can look straight through this mesh and see where my 10-inch is. And you know what I need to do? I need to turn it around so I have a cutting surface the entire time. Okay, that's better. Don't want to run off the cutting surface and be cutting into my table. Okay. What else do I? Let's use some glue and some water. So right at the 10-inch, need 8 of them to be 10 inches long. Start and cut straight up along that 10-inch line. And this is going to take a minute, so make sure when you put your mesh down, I don't know why, okay, that you're even with your whatever line you're using to gauge the bottom, or else, you know, your mesh will kind of be off center, and that makes it line up on the side. And you don't want to pull it when you're cutting because this has a little bit of give in it, and you'll end up with a squiggly line when you finish instead of a straight line. Okay? All right, let me keep on cutting. Let me also mention, if you're going to use, if you want to use the an 11-inch side, and you want to, if you end up using a 11-inch, I'm sorry, if you end up using some 11 or 12-inch mesh to make your petals, and you want to double it so it has a nice rich color, you want to lay out both of them at the same time. You would take both rolls and kind of roll them together. So you would have 2 layers. So when you cut, you'll be cutting 2 pieces. Saves you some time. Oops. That's 4. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've cut my 8 pieces. What I'm going to do is go ahead and make my petals for these and put them aside so that I don't get them mixed up with the 9-inch pieces I'm going to cut. First thing I'm going to do is fold this mesh in half because we really only need that half a length. That's why the, your 11 or 12-inch mesh would also work because it's about the same. If you were working with the 11-inch one, you would not fold. You would not do this initial fold. You would just be working with a flat piece. So I like using this 21-inch because it's already doubled. I've doubled it now, so I'll get the effect of having the 2 pieces. You're going to grab one corner, bring it to the other corner, the opposite corner, making this triangle. Then where you've put them two together at about 2 inches, you're going to just gather it, making this little tail, looks like a little fan. I'm going to take a clothespin and hold it together. And that is your petal, and I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to make some more, put this aside until we're ready to use it on the board. Okay. Again, fold it in half. Corner to opposite corner at about 2 inches. Kind of scrunch it up together. Clip it. When I fold it in half, I'm lining it up as much as I can on the sides and all. It's not a perfect, thing, so holding my finger in the middle too kind of keeps it from all coming forward. This piece wants to all come forward when I bring that corner down. Okay. You want to be gentle enough to not be purposely pulling on these stray ends. But these ends are not something you're really going to worry about because they'll kind of be hidden when you put them together to make your rose. Sometimes that mesh catches on the sides and won't give you a straight piece. I'm just trying to line it up a little better. All right, so I've got the last of my 8 pieces that are 10 inches pieces of mesh. All right, put those to the side so I don't get them mixed up with the next set. Now we're going to cut 9-inch pieces. 8, 9. Since I cut my 10-inch pieces, I'm just going to keep cutting till I get to the end of the roll. Grab your mesh and let's cut along with me. Get this done. As you get closer to the roll, the center of the roll, the the curl gets tighter because these were wrapped a little tighter around the roll. And I'm going to keep these pieces to be the inside of my petal since they already got a nice tight curl to them. And this last piece is a little more than 9, so I'm going to just use it as it is. Okay. I'm not going to start carding on the second roll until I see exactly how many I need because I was not counting as I went along. All right. Okay, I guess you can see past this huge mound of mesh. Oops. Let's try to move the top of it out of your way a little bit without causing an avalanche. All right, I think you can see this piece is very tight. See how we're going to do this. Trying to just fold it in half first. There we go. Bring one corner to the opposite corner. Made my triangle. And you can see by this being so close to the center, it's got a lot of strays. It's really scraggly, I call it, looking. So this is a piece I really do want to save for the very center of my rose because it'll be curled so tightly that none of that will be seen. So I'm going to leave this to the side so I know exactly where that piece is. All right, now we're just going to make the petals same way we did the 10-inch ones. Fold it in half. Make a triangle. Bring in the opposite corners together. Scrunching it. Move over here so you can see. Scrunching it up. Clip. Try to just lay these to the side here. So these are all the inner ones that came off near the inside of the roll. So again, they were very tight. I'm going to take a little bit of smoothing them out. Fold in half, corner to corner. My triangle's a little wonky because the curl on this is so tight, but it's still there. So if this is the first mesh wreath you're making, you're going to be fine. It's going to be fun. It's going to take a little bit of work, but we're going to get there. We'll get there together. All right, fold it in half. Don't let this little curliness outdo you. Make that thing work, flatten out enough to get the shape you need. Again, you don't have to be super gentle with it. These frayed edges will mostly be hidden inside of your rose. And those that aren't hidden, we'll talk later about what we can do with those. Corner to corner. You can see it hardly looks like a triangle, but that's okay. It'll work. When we get ready to pull it together, it'll work. Looks more like a petal now. Move these scissors so they don't cut that. Well, move my cutting wheel so it doesn't cut it. Damn, not scissors. In the future, I'm going to also be trying to schedule some live sessions with making these wreaths. Right now, I'm having some issues with my iMac. I'm not happy with the product that I purchased. Not happy with the iMovie software right now. Oh boy, it's been a bit challenging. And so because it's kind of unreliable, I didn't want to schedule a live and then have it acting up and not be able to go live when I promised to. So I'm going to wait until I get it together. I'm trying to decide if I want to try to work with another Apple product or if I just want to go back to Windows. But going back to a Windows-based product means learning a new editing software. And you can see already they're not curled as tightly. It's a little easier for me to lay these out. So I'm getting to the closer to the outer pieces of mesh that was cut from the roll. Ouch, that went into my finger. Now, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to try to kind of separate the mesh. So like these are the first pile I have to my right. Were the inner pieces that came off the roll. And now this is kind of like the next set. They're starting to loosen up a little bit. The curl is not quite as tight. So I'm going to set these in another pile. Only because as I'm making the rows, I noticed last time, you know, the inner part of the rows, we curl real tight. So I might as well use the pieces that are already curled real tight from being on the inner roll. And then the others, I will, you know, as you go on around the rows, the outer pieces need to be a little fuller. So I might as well use a piece that was on the outside of the roll. That's already not quite tightly as curled. Tightly as curled. Not already curled so tightly. Still getting that same look. Okay. All right. Let's keep it moving. And as you can see, I'm getting to the outer roll of mesh, and it just lays a lot nicer. It's not curling up on me. And that's why I was saying I would save these for the outer petals. So I don't want my outer petals to be trying to curl up. Because I don't want my outer petals to be trying to curl up all tight. I want them to lay open a little fuller. Did you bunched up tight enough? It might look like I'm just scrunching them, but I am using the lines in this board to kind of tell me where my 2-inch mark is. So that I can get the clip right on about that spot. Excuse me, clear my throat. It is allergy season here for real, for real, for real. And I have been struggling a bit. I had to go out this morning to get this, so my throat now is a little clogged, a little scratchy, a little irritated. Oh, but we keep moving on. Can't let allergies stop you. You be down an entire season. I guess that does happen to some people who really have breathing issues. Oh, but thank goodness don't have that concern, just a little irritation. And just when you think you'll never be done, you will come to that finish line. I've got 2 more pieces, I think, over here. I need 2 more clips. And these clothespins are available at pretty much your average little stores, Dollar Tree, Walmart, Target, any little place that has household items, and things for caring for your clothes, detergents, laundry, any type of laundry items. You can find your clothespins. But again, I will link in the description where you can get everything online if you don't want to be running about. Last one, unless we need some more from the second roll. Okay. Now, dump some of this. I have a little trash pail right behind me. Keep one nearby when I'm working. And this was that last piece on the roll that I told you I'm going to use as my center of my rows. And keep that right handy dandy. Okay. Now what we're going to do, these boards are marked, I guess where the words are supposed to be the back. Doesn't really matter because they're the same color on both sides with this one. But this one is numbered. I don't know if you can see those numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are the numbers I'm going to be referring to as I work on my circle. 1 is the outer, 5 is the inner. So what we want to do, the circles are made in groups of 2. Yeah, you're not getting a reflection, so groups of 2. So this inner circle has 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of 2. From the side you plan to work from, which is this side, your zip tie is going to go through from the top to the bottom, and from the bottom back up. So it's sitting in there like that. This is the flat edge of your zip tie, and this is the back edge. So this flat edge is kind of smooth along here. When you put your zip tie in that way, you will hear it. I don't know if you can hear that zip noise. And that's what you want to hear because then it won't come back out. So I'm going to put this in. and pull it till it starts to zip, but I'm not going to tighten it. So we're going to do that for each set of 2 on every ring on this board. So first we're going to do the inner circle, ring number 5. Putting it in, pulling the zip to a little bit. Oops. Putting it in, pulling it out on the other side. Sorry, getting in the way. I'm trying to get out of the way and I'm getting in the way. Just hearing a little bit of the zip close. Got 4 in the inner circle. Now we're going to ring number 4. Going to do the same thing. Let's see if I can turn this way towards you so you can see. Yeah, I think you'll be able to see better. You can feed it through. You got to go underneath to feed it back up. I'm going to use, excuse me, I'm going to use this just so I can turn a little easier. My Lazy Susan. If you use this board for other things, for other flowers or other things, then you might want to consider whether or not you want to paint the board. I'm not too concerned about this lighter color coming through the red. It'll actually help to brighten it up. But maybe if I was making a white flower, I wouldn't want the gray coming through. So then I might consider putting a little bit of white paint on my board. Starting from the inside, working out just is a little easier on your hands. You don't have to worry about this zip tie scratching you because you will be working on the outer. You know, you will be working this way. You won't be twisting and turning like I am trying to so that you can see. But you will just, you know, keep working this way. Which way these come in, left to right, right to left, doesn't much matter. It may matter to you when it's time to close them and you have to pull it tight. Which way is a little more convenient for you? For me, it seems to work both ways, so. I'm right-handed, but it doesn't seem to matter much when you're trying to pull them tight which way they're set up. At least not for me. Come on there. You do want the zip part facing up where you're going to put the petals so that you have this smooth edge on the back. So when it's on your door, it's not scratching your door all up or your wall, wherever you want to hang this. Now I'm on circle number 2. I'm going to go around here and finish these. Circle 1, the outer circle, which is number 1. We're going to do the zip ties a little differently, so don't go ahead of me for those. Wait until I get there for that. The bad part about doing a long project like this is that I'm not much of a talker, so I tend to get quiet and focus and concentrate, and that leaves you in quietness. I hope you don't mind. I guess that allows you to focus and concentrate too. Okay. For the outer ring, you have number 1. There are 2 holes here together again. Let me just show you from the back. Let's see how we're going to do this. There are 2 here together again. this is where you're going to put your zip tie or whatever you want to put to hang your wreath. So I use a zip tie again, same way, except that this one will never get tightened because I'm going to want it to be loose on the back like that, so I have something to hang with. So that's that one. All right, so I have those all done, and my back is hurting, so I'm going to find a way to sit down. I'm going to put some of these rings, some of these petals a little closer to me so that I can sit down and work. These are the petals I got from the inside of my roll that are curled. You can see they're curled real tight. They look a little different. So these are going to be the ones I use first. If you want to take a break, this is a good time to pause the video. Give yourself a few minutes. This is a good stopping point. Give yourself a few minutes to get some water, use the restroom, whatever you need to do, and then come back. All right, everyone. If you took a break, welcome back. Trying to sit down and still get as close to the table as possible so that I don't... Okay, you can still see. Good. All right, I want to leave camera view. Now, with these petals, we're going to start from the inside. This one just has some ridiculous amounts of string hanging off. Take our little tightly curled petal. They kind of curl, you know, when you did your scrunching them up on the outside, it's kind of a smooth bit on the inside. It's got a little inner piece like here. It's curled already like that. So I'm going to work with it like this because when we put this on the board, we're going to actually roll it. Kind of roll it around itself so we get that inside of the petal. Okay, so since it's already taking that shape, U shape here, we're going to use it, make sure we can curl it that way. We're going to take this petal on the inner circle. We're going to slide it underneath one of the clips, and I'm just demonstrating now, to about the point where we had the clip holding it. So you can see how that's facing out. And then we're going to pull the zip tie tight. Okay? So we're actually going to take our little clip off. Slide it up under one of these rings on the inner circle. Pull our zip tie tight. I'm going to pull it even tighter. I just want to take my hands out the way so you can see. Pull it all the way down, tight as possible. And see, now I forgot one of the supplies. I use wire cutters. I don't like using my scissors to cut the zip ties because they're a little rough and they'll dull the blade. So I use wire cutters for that. Get the zip tie as tight as possible. Right up to that. You have your zip tie. Now it's tight. And you're going to come right up to that head and cut. So you get hopefully a flat surface right up to that head and cut. So when you finish, it may be a little piece hanging out, but you want to get it as close as possible so you don't have something sticking out that's going to cut your fingers. If you decide to go back into this wreath or to... These boards are so nice. I plan to never get rid of my boards. So when I get tired of the wreath, I'll probably be coming through and cutting these rings off. Or, you know, just from this side, cutting all the rings off and reusing the board. They're really nice. And so that way, you know, you don't want big pieces of zip tie hanging off that will hurt your fingers. So I've got this on here tight. I'm gonna take it flat as I can, clip that off, and yeah, I got that pretty flat. Okay. Then what you will do is, as I showed you, you're gonna take this outer corner and just start rolling it. This is just a demo. Rolling it around itself. And when you finish, you'll have that petal look inside. Okay. So let's grab this corner here and just start rolling it. It doesn't have to be super tight. Just want to roll it. I do want these, as much as I can of these raw edges, to be pointed down, so they're not sticking up or showing in the center. So you can kind of see how I did that. And just start rolling, 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 rolling. And when I get to the center, I can't kind of keep rolling, but I can take this side and start wrapping it around. Use my hands. I'm going to come back around here. It's just wrapping it around. And that is the first inner piece. Now, if you're experienced, you can do all four and get that whole center circle done. But I'm going to work with you because we're beginning. I'm going to suggest, and I'll have to add this to the supply list, you can even hot glue, or for the purposes of demonstration, you don't have to do this. I'm going to take a little piece of tape and try to hold that down, that last little outer piece down. It only has to hold it a minute because we're going to wrap around this piece again. Okay? So, you can see I've got a little piece of tape just holding that there, and that's just temporary. We're going to grab our next piece, our next petal, remove our clip. I like working, for some reason, counterclockwise. Doesn't matter if you want to do clockwise or counterclockwise. And then pick one of these loops that's right next to it on that inner circle. Put your petal in. Pull your zip tie tight. Got my petal underneath it like we did the first one. Pulling my zip tie tight. Cutting it off, cutting off the edge. Be careful not to cut my mesh. Okay, now the second one's in. I'm going to come back here. You can take that little bit of tape off if you want. Start with one corner of your next petal and just start wrapping that around the center of the rose that you've started creating. So if initially we wrapped it around itself, now we're going to wrap it around this rose petal that we've started. And you can see how that looks. It's a little tight, it's a little wonky, don't worry about it. It's not supposed to be perfect. Nature isn't perfect. You're supposed to have some differentiation here. It's not supposed to be one smooth look. Alright, so let's see if my little piece of tape will hold this again. I hope it will. It's just for, so I can keep showing you. It'll hold it enough. Well, it's coming out. But hopefully it'll hold it enough. So I got my first 2 petals on here. And what I'm going to do now, before I finish that inner circle, is tighten it up around here, around its belly, so that when you're looking down into the center, you don't see straight through to that board underneath. So this is where you can take your rubber band and put it around it to tighten it up. Or I'm going to try to use, I think I'm going to try to use a zip tie. I don't think I'll be able to see it when I'm finished. Shouldn't be able to. But I know the zip tie will get it nice and tight. Yep. So when you look through there now, you see, you don't see the board, you just see red. And that's the idea. So I can cut that off. 2 down. I really do want this as flat as possible because I'll be wrapping more around here and I don't want to cut my hand on that little piece. So we got 2. Gonna now go to the 3rd one. Inside, tail sticking out. Pull on my zip tie. Tight as possible. Cut off the end. Starting from the left, or from this side, wrapping it around. Bringing it around as much as you can. And those raw edges start sticking to the other parts of the mesh, so you don't have to worry about it really holding. And then bringing this side around. I'm going to use a little clip to hold it. Oops, excuse me. See how that's looking. Here's the very last zip tie from the inner circle. Put it in. With the tail facing out. Pull my zip tie as tight as I can. Cut the tail. Cut that piece of zip tie. Start on this side. Before I start, where's my clothespin? Okay, get my clothespin out the way. Start wrapping this part around, and then wrapping this part. Around. And again, I'm just going to use a little clothespin to hold it temporarily. So that's how it's looking for that inner circle. This is how it's looking for my rose starting to form. Yours doesn't have to look exactly like this. As long as getting some circular pattern, you're good. Before we go to the next circle, I guess this is optional for you, but I like things neat. I'm cutting off these tails. My scissors are dull. That always helps. My scissors are real dull. Let's try another pair. I have a trash can behind me. I hope you can't see it. I think that's a bit tacky, but I do need it. Let's try these scissors. Oh, that's much better. Okay. One down. Time for the next circle. This was circle 5. Now we're on circle 4. I tend to start my next circle where this piece kind of leaves off. So I know it'll be in the center of the next petal and it won't, you know, be close to an end where it can unravel. It'll be held a little tighter. So here's where it ended. So I'm going to start my next piece right here. And we are still working with our 9-inch pieces. The 10-inch pieces are all for this outer ring. Okay, that's why we only have 8 of them. So it's the same process or the same steps over and over again. Putting it through with the tail sticking out. Pulling my zip tie tight. You can see that. Cutting this off. Moving my clothespin out of the way. From this point on, I'm not sure I'll be using a clothespin, but if you need it, continue to work with it. Wrapping that around first. Making sure you're inside of these zip ties because you're going to need those. And then bringing this, oops, that kind of slipped right on out my hand. Bringing this side around. That's my first petal for the second ring. Now this will kind of stay in place. If you want to use a clothespin to hold it so you can see what you're doing, please do. Keep things out of your way. All right, the next one I'm going to put right here, the very next space. That's here. That's why I kind of leave these ends on till I finish the whole circle. So I kind of can obviously see where the next one goes. Next spot, zip tie tight. And these zip ties can actually stay in for a while too, and if you want to just work, but I need them out of my way. Take that top end around, bring this bottom end around. And you can see they almost meet up at the very same place as the first, as the last one you did. But we'll start getting coverage after a while. So that's how it's looking now because I took the clamp off. And you can see it's these zip ties and the little frayed edges are really kind of holding it in place. Okay, so back here to the next zip tie. Putting it in and pulling it tight. Trimming the edge off. And these are opening up a little bit. Don't worry about it. If it does start to unfold, just take your time and simply smooth them back in again. Okay? I'm starting from this edge, which is the top edge to me. It's the furthest away from me. Smoothing it around. Getting it, as close as I can to the center of my rose. Then to bringing this side around. Again, working inside of my zip ties. They're still on the out. This one is not staying together as well, but that's okay. We want to make sure that the ends from the previous one are wrapped in underneath for this outer one we just put in. Okay. That's it. I'm letting it go because I'm going back, and you see how that fluffed out, but when we put something else in there, it'll push it up. The very next one is here. Guess you can see that. It's kind of hidden up underneath here, but what we go looking for, that last tail, and then we find the next zip tie. Next zip tie is here. Putting it in. Sorry you can't see, but I gotta get this in and get it tight. So I have it right next to this previous one. Gonna snip it. Take this edge. You know, it's sitting up and kind of pull it down and pull it toward the bottom, wrapping it tight. And then taking this corner, same thing, pulling it down. Got some zip ties trying to get hid underneath it. Make sure you don't lose any of your zip ties, because then you'll end up with a space in your rows. Keep all of those. Make sure you're always wrapping it on the inside of the zip ties and they're sitting out. So that's that. And you can see, like I said, it's loose on this side, but when we do the next one, it's going to pull it tighter and pull it tighter. Going back, finding my last tail. There's a zip tie right in here. Got it in, got it tight. I'm going to snip it off, snip the edge off. Going to take this corner, don't just wrap it up high, pull it down. Not the entire piece, but that corner piece wants to come down low. I'm bringing it down right toward the board. And then this corner piece, I'm not wrapping it up here. I'm bringing it down low. Get it up underneath my zip ties. And bringing it low. And as you can see, that first side came out. I'm just going to grab it. Pull it in again. And I'm actually going to pull it a little tighter this time, so that hopefully it'll kind of snag onto something else that's down there. And it did. I think I pulled it so tight I kind of lost my shape. Didn't mean to pull it that tight. Okay. All right, taking my time. There's my tail, here's my next zip tie. What happens if you miss a zip tie and don't really realize it until later? Then you'll kind of have to open these up, get that next one in, shape it around, and then shape, each of the other ones around it again. But take your time so that you don't miss any of these zip ties and you won't have to go back. Here's my next space on that ring. trying to find my corner. All right, pulling that top piece in. I'm pulling this lower piece. And I'm just trying to get inside those zip ties each time. Making sure I'm inside. And he doesn't want to stay in. Like I said, that's okay. When we work our way around here again, we'll pull him right on in. He will have to behave later. At some point, you got to behave. Don't worry about it if it's not perfect yet. Going up underneath here. Don't think that's your next one. Got to get on the same ring as your previous tail. So don't go out a ring. Got to get up underneath this mesh. Find the next one. And see how that came out? No worries. I'm going to just take my next one and wrap it up. And I'm just kind of feeling my way around those, getting on inside of those zip ties. Getting as close as I can. And taking this side. Now I'm ready to wrap this around, but these are so loose that I have to first tuck them in. They don't have to be super tight. They just have to be within the next outer petals. See, even since this piece is coming all the way around here, I got to make sure this one is underneath. All these previous ones should always be underneath what you're doing next. And again, if if it bothers you that they're loosening up, take your little clip, hold it in place. And I've got one more zip tie on this ring. And I'm still doing the same thing I told you before. This petal is curved kind of in this way. And like this is outer and smooth. So I'm still doing it so that this little inner curve, since it's already curving that way, I'm putting that against the inside so it keeps curving. Don't know if that matters, but I just figured since it's already curving, already making a little circle, it'd just be easier to shape it around the center of the rose. Got my zip tie on. The last one for that ring, because you see I got another tail right here. That's the one I just put on. So now it's so far out, it doesn't really matter which side you tighten first, because it's not going to reach all the way back around. So I got that side tucked in. I got this side tucked in. And this is where I snip my tails so I don't get them confused when I'm doing the next ring. Make sure you're getting up under there and not snipping your petals. Kind of just pushing them out the way. for the next ring, I want to start, which one's going next? I want to kind of start where I left off again. That's just my choice. I'm not sure how other people do it. So for the next ring, I kind of want to start where I left off again so that I get more of that continuous swoop going around. And this is the last one I did, and it is connected right here. So I'm going to choose this ring, this zip tie right here. And I can just tell this is the last outer petal because when I look at it, I can see it completely all the way around. Got that same format, tail sticking out, wrapping this around, wrapping this around, and you can see as we're getting wider, it doesn't like to be controlled as much. That's okay. The next piece we put on will control it. Next piece. In this ring, the loops are a little further apart. So I got it. This one and this one. Can you see those? Yep, you can see them. Right, next one. So I gotta snip it. Ooh. Pushing my corner pieces up underneath so I can see my next zip tie. Next zip tie is here. Get that underneath here. Pulling that zip tie tight. Excuse me for turning it away from me, but I gotta get as close to the head of that zip tie as possible. And I just need that angle. Again, wrapping that around. And you can see where I wrapped this now, it's getting close to where these left off. So I want to make sure that's tucked up underneath. The previous, we always want the older ones tucked up underneath. And see how that's now, it's not even tight, but it's holding that in better. Okay, very next one, putting it in, putting it tight, clipping the end off. Yike. Getting that corner tucked in close as possible. Making sure when I bring this around, this corner is tucked in underneath it. Doesn't have to be tight, just have to be underneath it. And I mean, as you see as I'm working around, everything look like it's coming loose. Don't worry about it. All these loose ends, they will get tucked in later. I promise. They were driving me crazy when I made my first one, but they all came into subjection as I kept going. All right, I left off here. Here's my next zip tie. Let me mention, when I made my center rows, I think I went counterclockwise, but when I started this, I've been going clockwise. Once the center is done, whichever way you go, make sure when you're doing these outer ones that you just keep going in the same direction. So, wait a minute. Oh, I am still going counterclockwise. Never mind. Yeah. So, it's better just keep them all going the same direction. Okay, here again, we're meeting. I got you on the inside, I got you on the outside. And it may not hold, but don't worry. It will hold later. Next petal, next zip tie. Got that in there. You almost don't even have to wrap it. You just kind of keep going and it'll start to take shape. I'm not going to worry about that being loose. I'm not going to make it stay in place. It will stay in place later because I just tucked this side in. See, these loose ends here, as you come on around, you start running into them. And you're just tucking them in each time. So I just tucked this one in and brought this to the outside of it. Matter of fact, this one should be tucked in too because it's overlapped by that. Don't get nervous and start gluing or anything because then you're going to mess up the shape of your rose. You want it to be a nice free form shape. Find where I left off. So the next one. Again, I'm taking my loose ends here, tucking them under, making sure this is on the outside. The outside of this last ring here. This is going to be outer. This is an inner. This is an outer. Everything coming from this direction should be tucked in. And I've got one more for that round. All right, I'm gonna just count how many I need for this outer ring and see if I have enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16. Just double checking how many of these 9-inch pieces I have, see if I actually need to open my second roll of mesh. So I'm actually going to need 4 more pieces. If you want to try to be brave, you can, you know, if you want to just use that one roll, you can skip some of these ties. I don't want to be that brave. I like my rows really nice and full. You can see it's taking shape really nice. So I'm going to cut those into the second roll, and then I'll use this second roll for something else. And I just need 4 pieces. All right. You just need some kind of weight to hold it in place. I'm using these glue bottles because they're handy. And these are 9 inches again. 1. Three. And 4. Remember, we folded it in half because I have the 22 or 21 inch wide mesh. Made a triangle. Scrunched it at about 2 inches. Put a clip. Folded it in half. A triangle. Semi sort of triangle. It's kind of taking its own shape. 2. 3. Don't want to hold shape, huh? There you go. Okay, I needed 4 more. I've got 4 more. Bring the rest of these over here so I can get to them. Okay, where did I leave off? Well, you can see these are all kind of going around, but this is the one that's out on both sides. That's the last one. So I'm going to start my next, where it's attached, right in here. Start my next petal on that next ring, right in that area. So, got one right across from it, starting right there. I told you that's just the way I like to do them. I don't ever think everybody, you know, does things that way. Oh, so you know what I didn't do? I didn't cut my tails. Do not want to get those mixed up with the next row. Sorry, let's cut these tails. Yeah, make sure you're getting up. Ooh, see? I'm pulling on the strings from the... Getting up under there and not cutting into your mesh. And they are good and thick, so they're kind of hard to get through. Make sure you have some good scissors. Okay. Alright, this is the one I left off on. This one, even though the end is showing, it's supposed to be tucked in, so you can help it out. Just tuck it back in. Okay. Clean up my mess. Alright. I hope you can't see this trash can beside me, can you? No, I don't think you can. I hate to show my trash, but I do need a trash receptacle somewhere nearby. Okay. Invite people over and sit trash in their face, I tell you. Okay, last one I left off on. Put it away. This is the last one I left off on. Going right to a zip tie nearby. Just for this last round, since I will be able to get back to things, I'm going to cut these zip ties and the mesh last, just to make this move a little faster. So I just kind of smoothed each end under. Going to the next one. Smooth under, kind of smooth under. We're catching parts of this previous one. I want to get that under there. This one has so many zip ties. You have so many pieces of mesh that it'll really kind of pull things together, because this is a really nice tight round or ring. When you get really good at this, you'll just put the whole ring on and then you'll smooth them all out. I'm not that good. Oh, I have to do it kind of as I go. And again, because these were the last, when I started cutting from my roll, these were the outer pieces, so they don't have much curl to them. So that's why they're kind of just standing out straight. But as we go around, we'll pull them in. It'll still make the shape. It'll pull them in together. Maybe next time I'll save the really tight curled ones for the outside and use these loose ones on the inside and see what happens. Alright, I said I was going to wait and cut these zip ties, but they're getting on my nerves. They are getting on my nerves because they're catching pieces of mesh that they should not be catching. So I'm going to go back and cut the ones that I just put on this one round. Okay. Still just going one by one. You can see on that edge, I'm just coming one by one. This time I'm just kind of placing the mesh down. I'm not even trying to wrap it tight because it's just too big a rows now to get them all tightly in. Just making sure, still trying to get them inside. Well, there are no zip ties here holding it, but over here, getting them inside my zip ties so I can see where the next zip tie is. I don't know how much you can see now, but each time I'm just looking for that next zip tie. Pushing it underneath. Okay. Now I'm starting to get a little bunchy over here, so I'm gonna tuck this side in. Remember, this side always goes in this direction, and then these can fold on around on the outer side. Outer ring of my rose. Okay. Just go zip tie by zip tie till you get this last one done. And just smooth it out a little. The way all these ends are sticking out, you would never think they would all come together in the end. But they do. So, while I'm finished this up, I really do thank you all that have joined my family since I made that pink rose wreath. And as I shared before, I will try to incorporate at least one wreath a month. I like doing home decor, but what you put on your front door is still a part of home decor, so. And I like making wreaths, so there's no reason not to. Bring you some of the things you love while doing some of the things I love. So I tucked this in and didn't realize I had these sitting out on the edge. So I kind of got to untuck these, get these wrapped in so they're held in place. And then get the outer ones done. Ta-da! And that's how it keeps getting caught each time, so that it's not all over the place. It gets pulled right on in. So what's going to catch these? When we do the outer ring. What's going to catch the outer ring? Oh, the outer ring is set up to catch itself. We'll show you. It's a little different. So again, I'm pulling some of this in. So when I pull this around, it's on the outside. Moving that in so that can be on the outside. We are getting close now. This outer ring though, it's going to take a little bit of instruction, so I'm going to take our time and do that. Wrapping this around so this piece is on the outside. Okay. And I set my 10-inch pieces off on a separate area so they wouldn't get mixed in with the 9-inch pieces. And I hope you did the same, because they all start looking alike. There's no way to tell the difference really when they're all together between the 9-inch and the 10-inch piece. One more, then we get to the outer ring. Going to tuck those in from this direction. And that's going to be on the outside. I don't think it's going to hold it in place because it's barely meeting it. No, okay. Now you got to take your time and get up underneath and get these tails, clip them off. I think there's 16 on this round. Make sure you don't clip your petals. Take your time. So easy for it to all get pulled together. Lift those petals, get up underneath. And if it makes you feel, you know, more comfortable, of course you can do this as you go, as you do each one. I'm just using my hand to lift up so that I can get underneath and get that tail piece. Right. Got them all. Okay. Next step. You can't help but do this. You see these little things sticking out? For the ones that really stick out when you're finished, you might want to snip some of these little stragglers. The next step is to do these little the outer rings, these pieces. But I'm going to demonstrate on another board so you can really see. And then we'll do it on that board with the rest of our rows. See, this was the advantage of me buying a whole pack of these boards. Love these things. Some people aren't. Oops. Some people aren't too excited about the price, but like I said, they'll last forever. You can use them over and over again. Get tired of something, flip it over, take those zip ties out, and keep it moving. Okay. For our 10-inch pieces, we're going to put a zip tie around each one, but we're not going to pull it super tight. We're going to pull it tight though, but not super tight. You know what? You are really in the way. Just trying to work with you there. So just put a zip tie. Let's see how I want it to curl. And okay, maybe I should have made the zip tie first. Oh boy. Put a zip tie around it, pull it through. Pull it tight, but not all the way. You want to be able to still slide a zip tie underneath it. So it's on it, it's holding it, it's not going to come off. But I can still slide another zip tie underneath of there. Okay? Let's see what we're going to do. All right. So get some zip ties around the rest of these. So nice and snug, but not so tight that you can't get that other zip tie underneath. I'm getting hungry. I should have took a break when I gave you all a break. I really want to get this done though, to make sure I get it posted. I want this up early in the week so that if someone wants to still create this for Mother's Day, which is the next holiday from when I'm posting it, you can get it done. You have a whole week, well, most of a week, from Monday to the following Sunday. Okay. You got your board. You're going to now, you're going to bring the zip tie through from outside to inside. You're going to catch the zip tie on the petal, slide this up underneath. And you're going to put the zip tie through. And you're not going to pull this all the way tight. This is going to be loose so that this is actually going to just hang off. Okay? Now, okay, when I'm actually on the board with the rose, I'm going to pull the zip tie that's around here. Now that I have this zip tie through it, I can pull it tight. But I'm not going to do that because I'm going to actually use these on my rose. So I don't want them super tight. I want to be able to take them off and reuse them. Okay. So you're going to do that, going all the way around your rose, tail pointing in. Oh. Zip tie up through the back. So I got the zip tie through the board, through the zip tie. Gotta make sure I don't pull it off. And this is, I zipped it a little bit, but I didn't pull it too tight. Okay, kind of see that, how loose that is again. So I'm gonna do, let's do 3 or 4 of these for demonstration purposes. Everything we've done so far has had the tail facing out of the board. Now the tail's going to face in, so it won't be seen when we're finished. So I did the same thing here, and I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to show you how this last section works. Okay, you're just watching me now, because I still have to do them on my board, so you can do them on your board at that time. So see how if I lift this up, it's just hanging because these are so loose? Okay. The reason they're loose is because for every petal now on this outer ring, this tip, this corner is going to go to its neighbor and get connected. This corner is going to go to his neighbor and get connected. Make sure you all can see that. Let me turn it this way and show you. For every petal, this corner is going to get connected in his neighbor's loop. This corner is going to get connected in his other neighbor's loop. Okay? All right. And this is how this happens. You take a corner. So this one I'm going to always put underneath the petal. And right now I'm just going to clamp it to the board. because again, I don't want to do these. This one is going to be on top of this petal. And clipping it. I'm going to clip it to the board. So you can see how this end is on top of the petal underneath, and for this one it's underneath. All right, so when we get to the next one, we want that same look. So this bottom one is going to be underneath the petal. So I'm going to lift this up and put it underneath through that circle that's open on the outer part of the board. Just clip it in place right now. And this one is going to go over the petal so that side can be under and through. Through the ring that's on the board. Just going to clamp it. This one is going to come underneath again and go into that loop. Come underneath and go into that loop. Get my hands out the way in a minute. See it going into that loop. Hope you can see it. It's hard for me to tell what this camera is seeing. And just going to clamp it. Hold it for a minute. And because this one is underneath, this one is going to be on top of the petal. It's still going through the loop that's on the board. That's this loop here that's going through the board. Okay, so what you end up with, and let's just pretend this is connected to its neighbor. That's connected to its neighbor, but it doesn't have a neighbor yet. And you see the effect you get? Where it's swooping under, over, under, it's over, under, over, and then this one would be under. Hope you can see that. You want that going all the way around your board, okay? So the main doing that on the board and having you be able to see what's happening, it's quite a task. Okay. Give me a second to get these off so I can get them on the real board with my flowers. So, like I just demonstrated, let me show you again one more time. We're going to start putting this from the outside in to the board. Take a petal with the, stay in my hand, twisting around, with the tail facing in toward the center of the board, We're going to slide that zip tie. We're going to try to slide that zip tie. Holding all this and doing this is fun. Slide that zip tie up underneath. Pull it through and keep it loose though, okay? Pull it through and keep it loose so that this is attached. All right. When you have a huge rose, it's fun. I'm not going to do the double circle on this outer edge, so let's start up here so you can kind of see. Try not to mash your rose as you're maneuvering this. So this double circle is where you're going to actually hang your wreath, where it's two together. So for this first circle here, put this up, put this through the zip tie on the petal. And zip it a little bit so that it's really loose. Now that you have this in here, this zip tie that we put on kind of loose, we can tighten it up. Okay. And we're going to go around to these 8 individual holes and continue to do that. Up through the hole. This is going in above the board, the tail facing in, zip tie up the back. See that? You can't see a thing. I'm trying not to mash my rose. Up through the board. How can we do this? Guess I'm gonna have to hold it in the air. Up through the board, through the back of that zip tie. Holding it loose. Oh, I'm sorry. Now that's in the zip tie that's around the petal itself, we can tighten it. I'm not going to try to cut the ends right now. I got too much going on. All right. Zip tie up through the board, up the back of that zip tie that's holding the petal. Tighten it a little, and now I can tighten the zip tie that's holding the petal. I can tighten that completely. The zip tie that's on the board, we want this loose. Zip tie on the petal, tight. Next one, tails facing into the rose, zip tie through the board. Sorry, zip tie through the board, zip tie through the petal zip tie. Tighten it a little teeny bit. And now the zip tie that's on the petal, we can tighten completely. Ooh, this is hurting my arms. Through the board, up here. Tail is going into the board. Zip tie through the back. Hold it in place. Now the zip tie that's on the petal gets tightened. The zip tie on the board stays loose. A few more to go. Zip tie through the board. This mesh is tickling me. I thought something was crawling on me. Up the back of the petal. Connect it loosely to the board with the zip tie that's on the petal itself. It's tightened. Okay, these last two I'm not going to be able to demo because I'm going to crush my petals. So I'm sorry you won't be able to see the last two. Hopefully, if you didn't get that, just go back and watch some of the ones I did already. If you can see, it's up through the board. Up the back of the petal, through the zip tie. Oops, don't come out. And tighten the zip tie just a little bit. And then I'm going to tighten the zip tie around the petal. So when I'm saying tighten the zip tie that's around the petal, I'm referring to this one that's on the petal itself, not the one you attach to the board. The ones that attach to the boards stay nice and loose. Last one. Through the board, up through the petals, zip tie. All right, we've gotten them all attached and they're just hanging loosely because of because of this loose zip tie that's attached to the board. The zip ties that are around each petal, we can go ahead and clip the edges of that. Make sure when you sit your wreath down, you're not mashing your outer petals. Slowly and carefully, make sure you don't cut into your petals. I'll keep saying that over and over again because it's so much going on here. It's very easy to snip into those petals. And these are the only ones that have the real long, the ones you're cutting are the ones that have the real long piece hanging out because you've got them tight. The other ones that you put through the board are real loose, so they don't have much of a stem hanging out. So it should be easy to see which ones need to be cut. They have a real long stem. Don't get caught. Please don't get caught. Okay. This mesh is starting to catch on to everything I have laying around the table, so I'm going to toss these other pieces I've been clipping off of the zip ties. So I'm going to go through and do each petal the way I showed you, connecting it to its neighbors, and I'm going to use my clothespins to hold them tight so that you can hopefully see what I'm doing before I actually tighten them, okay? We're going to start with the left side of each petal. We're going to take, here's the left, well, with facing me, this is the left, and this is going to be the right. I think you're the same angle. We're going to put it under its neighbor's loop And I'm going to just clamp it to hold it in place. And you can see that's the loop. Hope you can see. That's the loop. It is underneath of it, going underneath of it, and it got clamped on that other side. Okay? I'm going to do that for each petal on the left. And it just makes it easier later, believe me. So the next petal, I'm going to take the left side, put it underneath that loop, his neighbor's loop. Attach it. So again, underneath the loop and attach to the board. And the right side is free. The right side is free. Don't worry about that. The right side is free. Let's just keep doing the left. Promise it'll make sense later. Taking the left underneath the loop, underneath the zip tie. I'm calling a loop. Clamping it down to hold it in place. There's my loop. Taking my petal, left side, the next petal, which is the left side of it, under that loop. Oh, you don't want to stay under the clamp. Oops. You can see how all this stuff is just in the way, and we'll get it straight in a minute, but again, went under that loop, got clamped on this side of the loop. Okay, let's keep doing that all the way around, just the left side of each petal. Okay. Keep the right sides free. Make sure you're not catching your petal from the rose. We're just working on this outer ring here. After a while, these petals start looking the same. Putting it underneath the loop, and then I'm reaching underneath to actually clamp it down. Okay. All right, I've got all of the left sides. You can see how the right sides are still sitting out free. I've got all of the left sides tacked, and you can see the left came and went underneath the loop, and it's clamped on the other side of the loop. Underneath the loop, and it's clamped on the other side of the loop, all the way around. Maybe this side will help you make more sense. Went underneath my zip tie loop and got pinned down here just to hold it in place for now. And that's what I did all the way around. Okay. And I told you these two holes, they get ignored because these are the two holes we use to hang our wreath. Okay. Now what we're going to do is get this right side of each one attached to its neighbor's loop. But this time, it's got to be done a little differently. This time, I want to make sure, which one do I want? With each one, the right side, when it comes to its neighbor, it's going to be above the previous one. So, cause see how it pulls it up? So it's going to be above this one. It's going to sit above this one. Still got to come through that same loop and get attached on the other side of the loop. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Just a second. Okay. So the right one went in. I don't even know if you can see the loop anymore. Went in through the loop, which is here, and got attached now on the other side of the loop. And that's how I end up with a clothespin on both sides of that loop. Okay. Try to make sure you keep your rows out the way, the center rows, and you're not catching those pieces. Now again, the right side is going to come to his neighbor. He's going to go over this one, through the loop, and as you kind of pull it through the loop, make sure you're not getting caught on all these clothespins and everything else underneath helping you. Through the loop. I can hardly hold this thing. This is a bit of a tug. Give it a little tug if you have to. Through the loop, and then I clamped it down just to hold it in place. Over this piece, down through this loop. So I kind of had to go up underneath that tail piece, and then it got attached over here. Okay, down. Just lift this up so you can see the loop. Can you see that loop without it getting lost? Yep, you can. Through the loop and got attached on the side. So it looks, you know, it looks like it's this piece, but a piece of that tail from here is attached. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. Again, it's over its neighbor, goes through its neighbor's loop. And it's attached. I think I'm going to try to use the same clothes. No, I'm not, because it's going to come out. I'm like, I'm going to try to use the same clothespin. That might be a mistake. So let's keep doing that for each one. Over the, see now all this center rows is kind of getting in the way, and it starts all looking like over his neighbor here. That's his neighbor. Over top. And through his neighbor's loop. Through his neighbor's zip tie. And you can see what that does is start to pull it each time. Pulls it in so that it holds in all of the center rows. I'll clip that off later. Okay. All right, here's my neighbor. I'm going to come over on top of him. Okay, first I'm going to kind of swoop in my rose. This is my neighbor. I'm going to come over top of him. If I can, everything's turning on me. Come over top. Get in through his zip tie. This time I think I can use the same clothespin. Yep. And the further you pull this through, the tighter this gets. So you don't want it too tight. But you want to make sure that when we do tighten up the zip ties, that it's caught inside. Just smoothing out my rose a little bit, getting some of it out of the way. Neighbor. Coming over my neighbor. Going through his zip tie. Getting clamped down. I don't even know if I can show you anymore, it's so tight. Still. Over through his zip tie. And there's a little piece of it sticking out here that's just kind of hard to see. So when it comes to tighten them, I may have to pull it a little bit to make sure it's really under that zip tie. Okay. There's a little piece of the tail through the zip tie. So I'm going to put this tail back in good. All right. Neighbor. Over the neighbor. Through the zip tie. Catch him in my clothespin. Last one, and it's got so many stragglers that I'm gonna do a couple clips. Just to, oops, don't keep pulling. That's the only thing about clipping. Sometimes you keep pulling them loose instead of helping. Gotta be careful with that. Last one. All right, now here it gets interesting because my neighbor isn't laying free. So I've got to bring it over still. Okay, I'm still going to bring it over. If it was laying down, I would bring it over. And I've got to finger my way now up underneath his zip tie, which I can see, but I think it would be impossible for you to. And catch him. And you can see how that pulled all of those last layers of the rose right on up. You know, this kind of shapes it in. It holds it in around the sides because we kept pulling it in and we kept pulling it in each time. This one's a little loose. I'm going to try to tighten that one up a little bit. Look like it's a little loose on that side. But see how nicely that pulls it together? All right, so this one I'm going to correct by just pulling it through a little tighter here. Seeing which side it needs to be pulled through on. And I just loosen it and pull both sides and see what happens. Okay. I think I'm gonna redo this one. Just take it out. Try to, because remember it's a doubled, mine are doubled, so make sure both pieces are together snugly. Since this is the right side, it's got to go over its neighbor. And now these loose pieces of mesh are really getting caught in everything because everything is so tight. All right, I think we're going to be okay. Seems to be trying to curve out instead of curve in. Do I need to take you apart? Well, we're not going to. Okay. This is fun because everything's just catching on to everything. All right. I got both pieces through my loop, yes. And I'm going to use my clothespin to hold them together. You can see down in there if you're working. Nobody else can. All right. So, that's my center tilting, but that's kind of cute. Now, some people to secure this, take their clothespins out, put a dab of glue, and then pull the zip tie tight. I'm just going to pull the zip tie tight because I believe I have each end tucked under securely. If I don't, I'll put another zip tie through there and make sure it gets caught securely. Because these holes are big enough, I can put a few zip ties through if I have to. So, for me, I'm just going to place my finger here, release my clothespin, and pull on the zip tie. I'm going to pull it as tight as I can, but I want that head of the zip tie to be on top still, because I don't want it underneath rubbing against my door. Okay, got it tight as I can. See that? How that looks. Good and secure. Both pieces are good and secure. I don't think they're going anywhere as long as you handle it correctly. You know, no one's grabbing it and lifting it by the mesh. You should be fine. I think you can even get away with lifting it by the mesh a few times, but let's not make a habit of it. So I'm just going to work my way around now. Use my finger up underneath. Get my finger up underneath to hold where I have the clothespin holding. Take that clothespin off and pull tight. Cut my edge of my zip tie. Alright, got two clothespins, so now I gotta really work. Get my fingers up under there. I'm gonna pull this while the clothespin is still there because I can't. Now that I've got two here, I can't get my fingers up under both sides. I won't have a hand to pull the zip tie. Zip tie nice and tight. Get up under there, trim the edge. And like I said, I'm going to just keep working my way around. Where I have two clothespins, I only have space to kind of take out one. And then I'm tightening up the zip tie. And I can take the clothespin out. I almost threw the clothespin in the trash. Gonna need that again. Still just working my way around, getting this as tight as possible. What's going on? Oh, that's where you're supposed to be. Nothing's going on, that's right. Why can't I get you tight then? You're right. Again, I'm just continuing around, tightening each one, taking out my clothespins, getting them out the way so that I can get real close when I clip the ends of these zip ties. And someone asked me, couldn't I have just used some mesh? Not mesh. What is it called? Oh boy, you know the plastic board that has the grids in it. You know, and kind of mapped out where I wanted each petal to go. I guess that's what they were thinking. They just asked me if I could have used that mesh board, and I guess you can. I just really like the design of this Unique in the Creek board. Haven't tried everything, but I really do like this one. And like I said, I like the fact that it's so well made that I will be able to use it over and over again. Because over time, you know, this will be in the sun, it will fade, it'll dry out and become brittle. And you know, you can't use it forever. That board is underneath. It is safe. It is plastic. It will withstand all kinds of weather, and I believe I'll be able to use it again. So, for a long time, I think it'll hang. I think it'll hang in there for a long time. So I'm going to put one more zip tie. I'm going to start at the top through that double hole so I can have something to hang it with. And I'm just doing this way so make sure the that head again is on the Wreath side and not on the side scratching my door. And just pull it through till it zips a few. And then I'm going to trim off the end so nobody can keep pulling it through. And then I won't have a loop. But now I have my loop. All right, now I have my loop to hang my wreath with. Okay, so that's our rows. I usually just go through by hand, getting some of these loose frays. I know there are a lot of different ways of eliminating these. I'm not overwhelmed by these little frays, so just getting the really, really big ones is enough for me. Some people really just got to have everything, you know. Well, I guess if you're selling them, you want things to be as perfect as possible. This is going on my door. So as you go around, you kind of see, you know, some of the edges that were loose as we were going around. This pulled them in, but it may not have gotten all of them. So you can kind of just tuck them in. And as you can see, it's very, very little frays. Those ends, here's the end that's sticking out, but those ends really got tucked in. And when I made the pink wreath, just tucking them in like that was usually enough, or is usually enough. So I'm just going to do that again. Sometimes you do end up with a little gap, like if you're right over this. Can you see? Yeah, you can see like in here a little bit. Yeah, if you're right at the right angle, you can even see that little white zip tie in there. But when it's hanging on the door, you know, it's not at that angle. So you don't see it. You can play around with your mesh a little bit, try to make this little petal as poofy as possible. But it's just the angle looking down at it like this. When it's, again, at the door, when it's hanging on your door, you don't see it. It doesn't matter. So again, I'm just tucking in some of my ends. And that's what you have to kind of be careful about, pushing them in too far, because that's how you get those gaps. But that's all you want to do. Keep turning it, looking at it from different angles, see if you see any areas you aren't happy with. Just kind of tuck them in. For the last part, we're going to make some leaves like this. Go around the outer edge. I'm just going to make 4. So I'm going to cut 10-inch pieces. You can probably use 9. Just to be sure. That's all I use this green for, is to make leaves. I've got plenty of it. We're going to bring this in toward the center and bring this side in toward the center, the opposite corners. And then you're going to just kind of scrunch it up. Oh, my hand is cramping. And that makes your, did I say petals? That makes your leaves. Gonna make 4 leaves. Can y'all see? Oh, you can't see a thing. Now you can see. It's kind of hard to see with this green, but you're going to take the opposite corners, bring them in toward the center, and you're going to kind of scrunch it up. Flip it. Two opposite corners, bringing it in toward the center, kind of where they meet. And then just kind of scrunching it right at that center point. Using a clip. On your flower, you kind of get to decide where you want those to be. When mine is hanging, I kind of like some here at about 1 or 2 o'clock. And then on the opposing side, is that 7 or 8 o'clock? If this were o'clock. So, back to a few more zip ties. My hanger is here. So somewhere around this point. Yep, there's a zippy tie. A space for the zippy tie. It's going to bring this up from underneath. And we're going to get this through without, it's trying to go through the mesh, but I got to bring it around without it going through the mesh. Got that there. And I'm going to put two together. I want this open edge, where you, this flat edge to be on the outside facing the rose, and this is going to be in the back where I scrunched it together. So I got 1, 2, kind of put it my little zippy tie around them both. Now I can kind of turn them. Make sure the outer leaf is facing out. I put the zip tie in and pushed the green to the front of the board, so it ends up with both of the leaves pointing out. I'm trying to do this without mashing my rose underneath. So now I'm just tightening up my zip tie. Okay, I think that's good and tight. I'd actually started cleaning up because I forgot my leaves. I just had to kind of turn them a little bit. They still turned on me. Make sure the outer side is facing out. So that's on one side, and I'm going to do the others on the exact opposite side. Well, maybe not exact, depending on where the hole is. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly opposite, so. Flip it over again. Try not to mash my wreath. And this is the hole I'm going to be working with. Try it from the top this time. See if I can get it through here without getting caught in a whole lot of the mesh. One, two, put this in here. Get my zip tie around it. Should have left the, might want to leave the clothespin on until you get it kind of where you want it. So it's snug, it's not tight, because I'm going to move this mesh all to the front of the board. And make sure it hasn't turned on me, which it has, because I don't want the fold facing front because that's my raw edges. Kind of want to make sure the smooth side is facing front. That's pretty good. And now I can tighten this as much as possible. Now see why I never have nails, because I use my nails for everything. Snip that. Make sure that zip tie is facing up so it won't scratch my door. Okay. And there we go. Got my little leaves on here. I understand there are different things you can do to get these little frayed edges, but like I said, I don't usually worry about them. They have tools where you can burn them and keep it sealed. They have tools where you can kind of blow dry some heat on it. Some people use their blow dryers, but they say that can really burn them if you're not careful. If you don't know what if you get the heat too close, you can actually burn it. So I haven't tried anything. I'm happy with that. All right, let's take it upstairs to the front door. So here we are, and here's the wreath on my front door. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments box below, and I'll respond to them as quickly as I can. I wish you much success in creating your own wreath. I thank you for spending this time with me, and I'll be talking with you again real soon.